Good evening, everyone, and everyone listening. This is Connie Lingus here with...
Very bored, especially after that last episode.
Also known as Peter, here for another edition of 89.1, aka WNYU's very own category is Dragcast Extravaganza?
I think that by trying to put too much variety in it every week, we're either upgrading or degrading.
Upgrading, because I think it was suited, because was it an extravaganza with this week's episode of Drag
It was
Race?
not an extravaganza.
So yes, we're talking the reunion episode of season 11 of Drag Race. And afterwards, we're doing our drag event spotlight of season 9, Shea Coulee's solo show. Shea Coulee, Coulee with a C. But before we get to that, let's talk the reunion. Let's start at the top. There's not really much exciting to talk about.
We could be ranking the dresses.
Yeah,
but...
I guess if you want to talk about that, let's just at the very least just talk about what stood out outfit-wise.
Brooke.
Yeah, Brooke looked good. I think Plastique looked... She looked... It was like very... It felt like Spanish bullfighter.
Akira looked good. I liked that feather look.
It felt business as usual for Akira.
Yeah, but I still liked it.
Go have fun with your looks. Look a little different. Like, for example, Suga with the bangs and the...
It worked.
Yeah, the bangs and the Disney villain look.
But Nina's makeup just reminded me of Eureka.
In a good way or
in a bad way?
Oh, but the outfit was fun. She had
outfit was fine, but like she was sitting towards the back, so she never actually stood up.
That's true.
So I spend most of my time looking at her makeup.
Yeah, that's true. I liked Vanjie. She looked a little different. She looked like like one of my cousins. She was rocking a very like Hispanic looking look, which was fun. Silky's makeup was decent.
Yeah, it was.
The cheerleader outfit I didn't care for, but the makeup was decent. Those were the outfits. Now, let's just talk. I guess the main talking points of the reunion. So, one of the first big things we got Brangie.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, R.I.P. It's just so awkward.
When Rue asks, are you going to get back together? Like, you don't ask that.
It's not your business, bro. Or, like, why did you break up? Like, that's...
Okay, well, why did you break up, I think, works because this relationship was so important in the... Or not really that important, but it was important in the workroom dynamic. That being said, are you going to get back together? I cringed watching that.
Yeah, especially, like, when you could tell that, like, it's still such, like, a sore spot for Vanjie.
Yeah, they both clearly care about each other a lot, but they're very worried to recommence the sort of relationship because... And look, I get it. Now, granted, when Brooke starts traveling more often, because trust me, she will after this season.
After she is second place in this season.
Okay, well, I don't know if she'll be second place or whatever.
Evie's gonna win. You could tell by the fact that we'll get into it a little bit later. Brooke is gonna do a lot of traveling. It just felt like in a strange way they were at like different maturity levels. Like,
yeah.
This was one of two instances in which Brooke kind of looked a little not the best. I feel like
less mature.
Yes. Like there was two instances. I feel like everyone of the top 4 except for Evie kind of had something spotlighted against them that made them look a little bad, and that was one of the things.
They tried with Evie.
They tried, but she still came out looking good.
I agree. Brooke did not come out of this episode looking like an angel.
Yeah, and we'll get to the other thing that didn't make her look that great. Yeah, the whole Brooke and Brangie thing, just stop it.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Yeah, and I just hope that this doesn't become a reoccurring thing, that just every season is going to try to have like, oh, who's going to be the couple? Or
oh, well, rest assured, people will bring it up. Look at how many times we've referenced Valentina's lip sync, and that was just season 9. That was 2 seasons ago.
That's true, and still making jokes about...
We're still making jokes about Valentina.
And like Nina Bonina Brown and Black China.
Well, I mean, that one should be joked about. That was probably the best moment of the season.
After they hit on Brangie, we got in to Raja beef, and I don't
More
think
like Raja Bacon.
why. Oof, that was a terrible joke that I'm gonna keep in, Peter. Raja did not come out looking particularly great.
At least she returned the wig.
That's true, which that was very forced. You could tell that was
It
scripted
was.
with Rue like saying, Raja, do you have something? Raja, do you have like try?
Obviously, she would have brought back the wig. Though.
Yeah.
I mean, whether Rue forced it or not, she would have brought it back because it would have been a pretty bad look if she didn't. That being said, yeah, Raja was kind of like, she stuck to her guns a lot.
Yeah.
Even when she was really insulting other queens. I mean, she did. Look, she handled the plastique thing kind of well,
But we're gonna play a clip here of just one of her comments.
Well, I will apologize that you feel some type of way.
That's just so insincere. Like, why are you even gonna apologize if you're gonna pull out the "I'm sorry you felt that way" or "I'm sorry I made you feel that way"?
Well, I mean, that's just a non-apology. Everybody knows that.
It's true. It just like when people are coming at you, like just admit it. Just admit that, yeah, I screwed up. And then not only does she pull the non-apology, then she blames her personality on astrology.
She's a Capricorn,
Yeah.
so you can't criticize her.
Exactly. She's a Capricorn, so
I'm sure that many of our listeners are really into astrology, and I'm very sorry to disappoint these listeners by saying that you can't just blame your flaws on your stars.
Yeah.
I'm sure that most people know that.
Yeah, especially if it's like a reoccurring thing that people have called you out on. Sure, maybe your star sign leads you to incline in a certain direction, but as a human being, one might think that you're able to learn from your mistakes.
Just because you're a Scorpio doesn't give you an excuse to be a jerk.
Yeah, that whole Raja thing, like you could feel for her in the same way that she
said, "Hurt people, hurt people."
Yeah, that was I thought that was a good line.
I'm taking that.
It felt kind of like Vixen and Nina Bonina-esque in that, like, there's an awareness and that they don't want to show weakness.
Except it felt more childish than the Vixen, which is weird. It's tough to do that, but I felt like it was.
That's
and
true.
It didn't feel as justified as Nina Bonina Brown. Because, like, Nina, at least, look, I didn't like her drag, but it was well executed.
Yeah.
Raj's never was.
Yeah, Raja's was always kind of lame. And, like...
If you want to be arrogant, you got to be arrogant and still a queen.
Yeah.
Like Scarlet.
Exactly. And, like, with the Vixen, like, she never resorted to people calling people smelly and, like, bad drag. She was just like, you cannot come for me, I will come back for you. It was more defensive and, like, I'm going to defend myself by coming at you for coming at me. Something else that stood out to me was someone else that didn't come out looking that great, I think, was Akira.
No, Akira did not come out looking that great. We told earlier that Akira was just like mining for drama before. I mean, that stays true here.
Yeah.
She is just mining for drama.
Yeah,
She's being really shady about it.
She's stirring the pot without wanting to admit that she's doing that. And I've called out production and I've called out the editors before, but kudos to you editors for showing receipts for, like...
They showed the receipts for Akira here.
Yeah, I just love, it's like, oh, you didn't do that, A plays clip, and she's still like, no, I didn't do that. It was really frustrating, and...
It was really nice to yell, show the clips at the television, and then they showed the clips.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't make Akira look that great. I come out this episode, I think, looking back at her and just being like, you know what? She was kind of really shady the entire season, and this and a lack of accountability for it. Like she always wanted other people to be accountable. Like, she was always like, well, you were talking crap, so you should just get out in the open. Just admit it. But then when she's called out,
suddenly it's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem that she didn't do. She's not completely at fault. She didn't bring it up first. Someone else did. It's again a lack of accountability that's frustrating, and it makes you hard to root for in the end. Afterwards, Scarlett was the star of this reunion.
Absolutely.
She reminds me of like Valentina's arrogance and like All Stars and just the Vanilla Bean fantasy-esque, just like so aloof, but in like,
What was it, like the red M&Ms?
yeah.
I mean, Scarlett has mastered that justified arrogance. She said, look, they showed that clip of why am I chosen in the bottom? I am an acting star here. I shouldn't be chosen last. And then guess what? She does really well in the challenge. So she has managed to reach and often exceed the expectations set for her. I think that when Scarlett is arrogant about something, she has reason to be.
Yeah.
Because she's good at it. Listen, if you're arrogant, yeah, you might still be not a pleasant person, but if it's justified, then you know what? I can't really fault you for being arrogant.
Yeah. And this comes into play in another case in which Brooke does not come out looking that great. It's just her like talking smack about how everyone hated
Yeah, that's a strong word to say that everybody hated her.
Which isn't true. Like, Suga has been on record saying she really likes Scarlett. I think Plastique has been on record saying she really likes Scarlett.
Now, granted, we don't know what happened behind the scenes, but that being said, I feel like, I don't know, that's a little too shady from Brooke. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, and she was just so, like,
and look, Brooke,
cold-faced and stoic about it. Bring Scarlett back for All Stars.
Bring Scarlett back in general. I just want to see Scarlett back.
That's true. So what else did we get?
Evie and Silky.
Yeah, so
Silky, turns out that she gained 30 pounds, so I can only imagine that it was stressful. And look, I can only imagine that the show itself is a stressful experience.
Yeah, so we hear about their beef a little bit more, see it go through. I think in this case, again, Silky's the one that comes out looking a little worse than Evie, if not a lot worse than Evie. Though, we'll play a clip here to see how this was all resolved.
So I want to apologize to you. In this competition, I've had to put up such a hard exterior, to kind of protect myself.
Your personality, I think, is your shield, just like my claws are mine.
Absolutely.
So our defense mechanisms were always up and always at odds.
Everything was very mediated. I don't know if it was a show for the cameras, but it seems like everything has been settled, and that's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it is nice to see, like, the sisterhood, especially when everything's about to end. And I don't want to say they're not going to see each other again, because that's not true, because they're about to go on tour together. But it's nice to get all that behind them and all that stuff. So, yeah, that was Silky. And
also, there's Ariel wig drama where Ariel apparently tweeted something about leaving the wigs for Plastique because people were coming for Plastique, but that wasn't true.
Yeah.
I don't care.
That was just a mess. That was such a mess that I don't understand.
They also talked about the difference between social media queens and show queens.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's an important subject to bring up because you are having two new kinds of queens at this point. With the rise of social media, all of a sudden, you have a lot of queens that gain exposure there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was an interesting distinction that was brought up.
Soju was back. Please stop bringing up the cyst.
Yeah, I was. Stop it with the cyst. It's gross though. That K-pop.
It's not funny. That K-pop, fine,
but everything else around it, no.
It's not worth it if it means you have to bring up the cyst. It isn't funny. It's really disgusting. I'm getting really terrible visuals. Please stop.
Yeah, and I think though with having Soju here, Soju seems fun. Like she seems like a fun personality.
I agree.
I feel like there's quite a few personalities that we didn't get a lot of. Like the robbery that was Honey. Honey was barely here. She got a read in when they were reading other people, but she was like a non-entity.
Especially when I think that Honey could have done a very good job if she didn't have that one lip sync.
Yeah, and she's super likable. They just didn't give her anything. Like we got more time with the Mercedes and Kahana beef, which we'll play a clip here and y'all try to deduce what's happening here.
And the thing that like hurt the most was when you posted our lip sync work right before the show, and you said, Shantae, you stay. And to me, that was just like, you just didn't care. You didn't really acknowledge like my feelings in that. You know what I mean?
Wow, what a boring beef.
Yeah, like, how dare you post your lip sync?
That's not drama for the sake of drama. That's drama for the sake of boring.
Yeah, it very much felt like Kahana just wanting a moment because she didn't really have any.
And I mean, if Kahana's outfits were better, then she could have had a moment. She had some pretty good lip syncs. There was potential there.
Yeah, but
she didn't have a moment.
yeah, that whole beef thing just felt ridiculous. I think the last thing to talk about, the thing that stood out to me, is just like, has there ever been a clearer front runner for Miss Congeniality than Nina?
Oh, absolutely not. We have never had a clearer front runner. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it by fan vote or if they're going to do it by queen vote.
I think
it's
either
queen
way.
vote.
I think either way,
Nina wins.
Nina wins. Either her or Suga, I could see.
Either
But
her or Suga, but I think it's still
gonna
Nina.
Still Nina.
When you have celebrities and politicians
Yeah.
going up there and praising you, yeah, you're probably going to win Miss Congeniality.
Yeah, and it was cool to see AOC repping Nina West.
I didn't know that happened, but, good for her.
Yeah, and Rihanna sliding in the DMs. I had heard about that, but it's cool. I really wish I could kind of see Nina going the route of, let's say, a Sasha Velour and just getting post-Drag Race career very political with her art.
Running for office.
Yeah.
Becoming president.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, Vanjie said Nina for president, but like I was thinking that before she even said that, because she very much has a good head on her shoulders, I think. And she was robbed, I think. Hashtag she should have been there instead of Silky, in my opinion. But
Oh, well, I think everybody agrees there.
except for Silky, maybe. I think we'll see Nina on All Stars at some point.
Or if not All-Stars, then at least she'll have a shining career ahead of her.
Yeah, I agree. Though there's one thing I want to last thing I want to say, and this pertains to RuPaul. When Nina was like praising RuPaul for her importance to the community and just all the strides he's made, I would have loved for RuPaul to get like a little more, like, I don't know, just other than, I just want him to go a little more in depth with his acknowledgement of just how important he is. Like,
I think that he's aware of it.
he is aware, but
And if he were to try to talk about his own importance, then it would feel a little cocky.
But I think, this is a case and where it'd be interesting just to like, since Nina brought it up, just like, yeah, I have this position and I've been trying to do the best that I could with it, and I'm so proud of what I've done, and I couldn't do it without. Just a little more, like,
I'm sure we'll see it in the autobiography.
sure, one of like 9 books he's had already, but it's still called RuPaul's Drag Race, and I feel like we don't, despite it being very Ru-centric, I feel like we don't have RuPaul, the cultural phenomenon in terms of the boundaries that he pushed, all that present all that often. And I feel like this would have been an interesting case to see it elaborated on. But alas,
That's fair.
But alas, that was a reunion. Unless
No,
there's anything
you said that Brooke is a lock for second.
Yeah, Evie's gonna win.
What makes you so confident?
The fact that RuPaul was so quick to jump on defending her, Evie, about like reading Silky, like the fact that RuPaul like so outwardly defended. And I think the arc that Evie has been given about being so true to herself and original, and just the praise that she's gotten by everyone, including Ru, like, she seems like such a clear favorite to RuPaul that I think I will be very surprised if Evie does not win.
I guess we'll see.
Yes, we'll see next week. Let us get into the drag event spotlight. Well, this weekend I saw Shea Coulee with a C.
As you know, she is the second best queen of her season in most people's eyes.
Yes, though technically that wasn't the final lip sync.
It wasn't the final lip sync, but perhaps it should have been.
Yeah, just the problem is that she went up against Sasha with her doing the roses thing, and it's hard to not lose against that. But the show was at the Laura Beekman. That's where most Drag Race alumni tend to do their solo shows. It was part of a 3-day residency. Did 3 shows this weekend. The show kind of just revolved around her upbringing and how she got into drag and just her life and growing up. It was like an autobiographical type show. The things I came away with were that it's a shame that she went up against Sasha in that lip sync because she was very good at lip syncing the show. Has a lot of flair and charm and personality to it. But at the same time, she's also a very good, competent singer. She would make Charlie Hides proud, and that I'd say a majority of the show was her singing. It was her and a friend playing on the piano.
And just standing there?
Uh,
If she's going to make Charlie Hyde proud.
No, she made Charlie Hyde proud with the singing. The fact that Charlie Pride is like, oh, we only sing in Europe, even though apparently that's not true at all. But yeah, she has a very good singing voice. If I had to describe her singing voice, it's kind of a smokier Nina Simone, which is not a bad thing to have considering everyone loves Nina Simone, including myself. So yeah, lots of singing. The songs were a selection of 90s and early 2000s bops. I don't want to spoil any in case anyone has the desire to see the show for themselves because I believe it is touring. But yeah, it was a collection of her singing along to those either through lip sync or actually singing. The show was cute because she talked about in the show that she hasn't been drinking recently because she saw the Beyonce Homecoming documentary on HBO, and she said that like Beyonce inspired her to get her life together. But alas, it was a drag show, so she ordered quite a few shots, and it was fun to see just this. I don't want to say downward spiral in terms of quality, but let's say downward spiral in terms of
sobriety.
Yes, she gave some shade about the season of Drag Race and about politics in general.
What were her complaints about the season?
It was just like a passing jab or two. She basically kind of just called the season boring, which I could see that. In
some ways.
In some ways. So at the same time, one might also argue she wasn't on the most interesting season herself in the grand scheme of things.
This is true.
In the show, you got a side of Shea that you didn't really get in Drag Race. There was quite a bit of tragedy that has happened to her throughout her life that really informs her drag outlook and her, I guess, her navigation through the drag scene. And it's always nice to see these drag shows where they're so personal because you don't really get this look into these queens at all. You just kind of get either shade or wit, and then if during workroom shenanigans they go into one of their like deep tirades, maybe you get a little bit of a side, but you never get it from everyone. So it's nice to get a deeper look into her background, and it's interesting, and it was touching. if I had to critique anything about the show, it was a bit short. I wish that we got a little more time with Shea, because her story was very interesting, but I felt it was very, I guess, front-loaded in terms of it mostly talked about childhood and growing up. So it felt like past that she kind of had to rush through it. Similarly, I felt that, I don't know, if for a show that's so narrative based, it would have been nicer to have a more, I don't know, a more clear arc, a more consistent arc in the storytelling. But I wish it was a bit more cohesive. Like Ms. Cracker's show, American Woman, it felt, you could attest to that, it felt very put together.
Absolutely.
Like,
there was a clear narrative.
Clear narrative, hitting on like beat for beat for beat. It never felt rushed or anything.
It was very well organized.
Yes, it felt like you got a big perspective. Here, it felt, and granted, this was her first show of the weekend, so perhaps she got pacing down a little bit better, and if she continues to do this show, she'll get it better in the future. But that's just something I noticed at my show. But nonetheless, overall, it was a fun experience. It was a fun crowd. Everyone was very receptive of the jokes and things got dark. And Shea is just a very lovable queen that you want to hear more about. And if you want to hear more about her, and if you just want a very intimate drag show that actually has the queen singing and is actually a good singer, you may be interested in seeing the show if it happens to happens to tour around you, or she happens to do it again sometime. And with that is our episode. Thank you so much for listening. This is Connie Lingus here with
Has been yawning a lot.
also known as Peter. Super special thank you to Miss Darling for their song Young Lovers that, where is it used?
The intro and outro of this podcast. And if you're listening on 89.1 and you enjoyed, make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, where we have a host of other episodes to listen to.
Yeah, we're on YouTube, and you could find our entire catalog on nvrnyc.com. Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening.